We'll get to that, those details in just a bit, but let's address another company. Chola is the one that we're talking about. Recently, Cognizant has engaged with Chola Investment to digitally transform the latter's vehicle business operations from loan origination through recovery. Vellayan Subbiah, the MD of Chola Investment and Finance Company, now joins in. Hi sir, thanks very much for joining in. Can you just tell us what sort of operational efficiency will the company benefit from with this deal with Cognizant, and how big is it in terms of a quantum?
Yes, so as you know, we have a fairly large field force both on the sales and the collection front, and across sales and collections we're expecting between a 20 and 30% improvement in productivity with this whole tablet solution that we'll be deploying across the front end force.
Good afternoon, sir, and thanks so much for joining in. Is it possible perhaps to quantify the operational efficiency you hope to achieve? Have you set out any internal targets? Perhaps if you could tell that in terms of how your margins will eventually look.
Yeah, so in terms of actual operations gains, right, we think that over time this will yield to between a 30 and 40 bips gain in terms of operational efficiency, in terms of reduction of OPEX to assets. So that currently in our book is about 3.5%, and just this initiative will help to bring it down by almost 10% in terms of that number.
Okay, let's just focus now, Mr. Subbiah. We do understand that you all have applied for a payment bank license. Can you just tell us whether you all have already maybe narrowed in on a possible partner for the same, based on the fact that you might get approval, and how much would you look to pump in if in case you do get approval?
Yes, so obviously if we get approval, the minimum amount required is 100 crores. And so we'll definitely look at investing that. In terms of operational partners, we will explore, but I just think it's premature at this stage because we want to first see if the RBI approves it for us. 42 people have applied. It's unclear how many people the RBI will approve. As soon as we know whether we've got approval or not, then we will start formalizing in terms of partnerships.
I think at last, when we'd spoken to you the previous time, you indicated that you hope the gross NPAs are at a peak and they will start reducing. Considering the fact that the recovery in the auto space has not been as per what the street and the industry was hoping for, what's the outlook looking on gross NPA? How is it shaped up in this Jan to March quarter so far?
So, Ekta, I think on that we're very happy with our performance over the last 5 months. We've invested significantly on the GNPA front, and we are definitely seeing that to reduce GNPAs, and we're definitely seeing that pay off. We've seen improvements in collections performance for the last 5 months running, actually last 4 months running, and hopefully usually it continues through March. So it's definitely going to help us in terms of reducing GNPAs. We have seen it come off from our peaks, and we do believe that now that we've set a process in place where we will see that reduction sustain over time.
Okay. Can you quantify, for example, since you have seen collections recover or increase in the past 5 months, are you more confident in terms of disbursement growth? And if you are, what is it looking like?
So in terms of disbursement, I'd still like to see, so like we said, right, I'd still like to see the numbers come down a bit more before we get too aggressive on disbursements. So what we're going to do is still stay cautious on disbursements for this quarter. Usually January, Feb, March tends to be a very high growth quarter for disbursements. We're going to keep, we're going to be slightly cautious on the disbursement side, just so that we're much more focused on getting very strong improvements in portfolio quality before we start pushing out too aggressively on disbursements. I do think that we will start taking a more balanced approach and starting to increase our disbursements going into next year. And naturally we will see some gains this quarter, but we don't plan to go too aggressive in the Jan, Feb, March timeframe.
Okay. What's the outlook looking about FY16 in terms of disbursement? Will it be a growth in perhaps single digits, or could it be as high as early double digits?
So it's going to, our mix is going to, so what we feel is we're going to have double-digit growth in our used and in our older vehicle book. So our used portfolio will see double-digit. The new portfolio will see single-digit in our minds.
Okay. All right, Mr. Subbiah, we leave it on that note. Thanks very much for joining in and talking to us. So that's Cholamandalam. That stock is up around 2 odd %. Maybe Kesaram should come up for you again in terms of a spike that we saw on an intraday basis.